Welcome to North America's Building Trades Union's virtual legislative conference. It's been over 2 years since we all assembled in Washington, D.C. for this annual event, and the last 15 months in particular have been filled with a variety of almost unprecedented challenges. As is the custom when faced with adversity, our building trades unions face these hurdles head-on and continue to build North America while focusing on the safety and well-being of our essential skilled membership. We have a great program for you today, and we have a lot to catch up on. As always, we also have some important information about seizing this period of opportunity to further advance the noble interests of North America's building trades. So enjoy the program. There is much good work to be done. The stars are aligned, and the time is now. Brothers and sisters, here are your leaders, the governing board of North America's Building Trades Unions. James T. Callahan, General President of the International Union of Operating Engineers. Frank Christensen, General President of the International Union of Elevator Constructors. Eric Dean, General President of the International Association of Bridge, Structural, Ornamental, and Reinforcing Ironworkers. Timothy Driscoll, President of the International Union of Bricklayers and Allied Craftworkers. James P. Hoffa, General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Newton Jones, International President of the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers, Iron Shipbuilders, Blacksmiths, Forgers, and Helpers. Mark McManus, General President of the United Association, Union of Plumbers, Fitters, Welders, and Service Techs. Terry O'Sullivan, General President of the Laborers International Union of North America. Gregory T. Rivard, General President of the International Association of Heat and Frost Insulators and Allied Workers. Kenneth E. Rigmaiden, General President of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. Kinsey Robinson, International President of the United Union of Roofers, Waterproofers, and Allied Workers. Joseph Sellers, Jr., General President of the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers. Daniel E. Stepano, General President of the Operative Plasterers and Cement Masons International Association of the United States and Canada. Lonnie Stevenson, International President of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Brent Booker, Secretary-Treasurer of North America's Building Trades Unions. And Sean McGarvey, President of North America's Building Trades Unions. Sisters and brothers, please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and please remain standing as we take a moment to honor those who have gone before us. North America's Building Trades Unions have a long-standing association with the men and women of our armed forces. And as is the custom at this yearly conference, please join us as we observe a moment of silence for our building trades brothers and sisters who have passed in the time since we last gathered, including members of the military, members who have died on the job, and specifically for those who have passed due to the terrible COVID-19 pandemic. It is no secret that our national infrastructure system is broken. And for decades, we've been talking about the need to address this unsustainable condition. Well, with a favorable change in the political winds, and with growing momentum as we emerge from the pandemic, the time for talk has stopped. We need action to address this broken national system. It's long overdue, and the time is now.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to North America's Building Trades Unions 2021 Virtual Legislative Conference. Needless to say, the past year has been unlike any in modern history. Like all of you, we certainly would prefer to be in person with you at the Hilton in Washington, D.C. But in the spirit of doing this as responsibly and as safely as the experts continue to advise, We prudently follow that guidance and do the best we can with what we have. Under the continuing pandemic circumstances, I sincerely appreciate the Governing Board of Presidents' thoughtful decision-making to make this conference possible for our state and regional councils and our international unions. And I personally want to thank all of you for your understanding and cooperation as we, as a continent and a world, continue to work through this pandemic. Our Governing Board, Secretary-Treasurer Booker, and I are honored that you are joining us today from all 14 unionized construction affiliates and the hundreds of building trades councils, which represent both rural and urban communities in every state across this great nation. As I always say, I'm happy to be among family, especially right now. First and foremost, I want to let you know the immense pride that we feel in calling you brother and sister. In the darkest days, when nobody in this country or the world knew which way was up, as always, you stepped up. You are essential. You left your families hunkered down. You went out and you kept the power on so our healthcare facilities could do their job. You kept the roads open. You built temporary field hospitals and morgues. Whatever was required, you did it, as you always do. You, brothers and sisters, are what's right about this country. Thank you. The pandemic, shutdowns, civil unrest, economic downturns, and our federal government's transition left North America with a lot of cleaning up to do. All these things impact construction, both for our industry and labor. While the past 15 months produced devastating pain and suffering, the same period also led to unparalleled opportunity. As we gather together this morning, I would like to share an overview of how far you have come these last few years. But before we go forward, we must first go back. The last presidential administration came into town making big, bold promises to you. They tried to sell you on the idea that they supported middle-class jobs, that they supported unions, that they supported the dignity of work. Well, rhetoric is one thing, but the reality of their broken promises is different. They promised you pension relief and then didn't do it. They promised you investment in infrastructure and then didn't do it. They promised not to mess with the registered apprenticeship system, and they tried. In January of 2020, NABTU's Governing Board of Presidents unanimously approved and invested in a comprehensive political education program in key battleground states, long before anyone even knew who the Democratic presidential candidate was going to be. It was absolutely imperative to try to move votes in deep red counties in key states and to go where Democrats traditionally don't go. Our program did that with tremendous results. It was also imperative that we reach skeptical rank and file membership and engage them to make clear what was at stake. Even being put in a hard position with tough conversations, you got it done. From the governing board to business managers to international staff, local union officers to member activists, everyone else who played a role in member education, your efforts made a real difference. Now fast forward 10 months, and election day or election week really was upon us. When it became official that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were the president and vice president-elect, their administration's transition team immediately engaged with you in every important aspect of the construction industry. You got more than just rhetoric. You got a seat at the table. Now, I'll be honest here. When Inauguration Day rolled around, the Keystone Pipeline decision, as you're well aware, is something that we were not happy about. None of us supported that decision. But we knew this was an issue and that we would have to deal with it at some point, just not the first day. Since that executive order came down, you name it, the Biden administration and the new Democratic Congress have been working diligently to help you, your members, and their families across the country. The administration removed the General Counsel of the National Labor Relations Board, whose continued presence would have had the potential for devastating effects on public sector project labor agreements, putting the Boston Harbor decision in serious peril. Soon after that, they got to work on the American Rescue Package, the most impactful piece of legislation for the poor, working class, and middle class in my entire lifetime. This package featured direct stimulus payments, extended unemployment, COBRA expansion, child care tax credits, and $86 billion in pension relief that you've been advocating for almost 20 years. The inclusion of pension relief in this monumental legislation is a prime example of how the relationships you've built over decades had the president and the Democratic congressional leaders focused on fixing this problem, not created by you or your contractors. Again, you heard the rhetoric from the last administration, but this president and this Democratic Congress, well, they got it done. The administration has also fiercely supported unions as a whole. Anytime you turn on the TV and a member of the administration is on, you'll probably hear them say unions built the middle class in this country, and that's 100% correct. Now it's time to rebuild unions. From the executive order creating the White House Task Force for Worker Organizing and Empowerment to their public support of the Protecting the Right to Organize Act, this administration has stood by American workers every step of the way. They fully support the PRO Act to level the playing field and give workers a choice. You know, it was only 12 years ago when another piece of labor legislation, the Employee Free Choice Act, which was passed by Nancy Pelosi in the House, never even got a hearing in committee in a 60-vote majority Democratic United States Senate. This is the kind of support that workers have been waiting for decades. The PRO Act represents what could possibly become America's first national labor law reform in generations. Not only would it effectively end misguided so-called right-to-work laws, but more generally speaking, it would also reinforce labor right protections, organizing freedoms, and collective bargaining rights. Implementation of the PRO Act would immensely support workers and their ability to have their voice heard and be respected on the job and in contract negotiations. We also supported the administration's goals, which we share, to bring more women, people of color, veterans, and those involved in the justice system into the construction industry workforce. Through our game-changing Tradeswomen Build Nations program, our rapidly expanding apprenticeship readiness programs across the U.S., in schools, training centers, and correctional institutions, through our lean-in circles, and through our work with the DOL to promote a more diverse construction workforce, we are transforming our industry one family at a time. This year, in fact, we have reached the highest percentage of female enrollment in MC3, with nearly a quarter of current MC3 graduates being women, and we have more work to do. As we fight to strengthen and diversify the industry, it is vital that we and you continue to work closely with Congress and this administration to make serious strides to successfully reach our shared goals. At the end of the day, we are not going to agree on everything. But when you compare the record in the last 60 years to what we've seen in the first 4 months of this administration, it's pretty astonishing what's been done. All that time and effort you put in, whether it was knocking on doors, phone banking, you name it, all of your work was to get the right candidates in office. The time is now to turn those efforts into getting an infrastructure deal done. We applaud the package introduced by President Biden and are working tirelessly with you to make sure that strong labor standards are included in the final version of this legislation. Any investment in infrastructure of any kind must also be an investment in the people that build America. We cannot allow labor standards to be collateral damage in these ongoing negotiations. If a project receives federal investment, either in whole or in part, strong labor standards like prevailing wage, registered apprenticeship utilization, and local hire absolutely must be attached to it. These projects must spur middle-class job creation in communities all across the nation, especially for communities of color, at-risk communities, women and veterans in our training programs, to successfully spur a renaissance of domestic manufacturing and become the foundation for future economic growth. The time is now to get this done. We know the window can close quickly. Soon, Congress will be working on re-election campaigns. Between now and this fall, tell your personal stories to your congressional members. Tell them about our gold standard training model. Tell them about the pathways a career in the building trades can create. Tell them about the real economic opportunity that comes with investing in our nation's infrastructure. And be sure to tell all the so-called leaders, like Ted Cruz and Tom Cotton and John Cornyn, of the new so-called blue-collar party, too. They have yet to vote in favor of a single piece of pro-worker legislation. They'll get another bite at the apple with infrastructure in the PRO Act, though. So we'll see if they come around. I will not hold my breath, but knock on their doors, too. Listen, the pandemic isn't over yet, and our economy isn't back to full strength. There is no better way to honor the legacy of those we lost and all that has been sacrificed than to help this administration and Congress get these major pieces of legislation that matter to regular people in this country across the finish line. We're happy to work with anyone that's willing to listen in order to get it done. Brothers and sisters, it's a good start for us. In the past 60 years, I have never seen an administration prioritize workers as much as this one. If the past few months are a sign of what's to come, as far as the poor, the working class, and the building trades are concerned, where we're not just outside the gates, but actually have a seat at the table and a voice in deciding critical economic, energy, and labor issues for our great nation, brothers and sisters, there are even better days ahead for us. The time is now to create ladders of opportunity for communities that have been left behind for far too long. The time is now to invest in the middle class. The time is now to empower hardworking Americans to unionize. We are the building trades, and the time is now to finish this job. And for the first time in our lifetimes, have a federal government that actually works for us. On behalf of our governing board of presidents and the 3 million building trades members and their families across North America, thank you. Stay safe, stay well, and may God bless our country, and may God bless the building trades. Thank you all for your dedication to the building trades and to the labor movement. We're now honored to hear from some distinguished guest speakers today.
Hello, As House Speaker, it is an honor to bring greetings to the members of North America's building trade unions as you convene for your annual legislative conference. I want to begin by thanking all of you and your extraordinary president, Sean McGarvey, for the courage and resilience with which you have responded to the pandemic. Workers like you are the backbone of our economy, keeping it running during this challenging time. That is why the Democratic Congress took decisive action to support union workers and working families with the historic American Rescue Plan. Most importantly, Democrats ensured that more than 1 million retirees and their families will receive their pensions that they were promised without any cuts to the benefits they have earned. Thank you, President McGarvey, for your relentless leadership on this priority. We also secured over $60 billion in support directly to the transportation sector and delivered bigger paychecks for working families with the expanded child tax credit. Now, as we build back better from this crisis, we are continuing to put workers first. The transformative American Jobs Plan will create millions of good-paying union jobs, rebuilding our nation's infrastructure. This plan includes $620 billion for repairing our roads and bridges, modernizing public transit, reimagining our rail system, reconnecting neighborhoods, and improving our ports, waterways, and airports. In this spirit, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee was preparing to mark up a robust surface transportation reauthorization bill to address these critical needs. Democrats are also fighting to include critical worker protections in this legislation, including Davis-Bacon prevailing wage standard and project labor agreements. We're advancing investments in apprenticeships and workforce training initiatives to ensure our workers have the skills to compete in the global economy. And we will not relent until the PRO Act, which has already passed the House, is enshrined into law, guaranteeing the right of workers to join a union. Because for Democrats, protecting and investing in workers is not just a priority, it is a value. We will also advance the visionary American Families Plan to ensure that working families have the support they need at home to get back on the job. President Biden and the Democratic Congress are unified in this pro-worker agenda. In that spirit, we place great value on your voices. We are grateful to be your ally in this fight. Thank you, President McGarvey and the NABTU, for your leadership and your partnership. Best wishes for a successful meeting. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Senator Chuck Schumer, and I want to really thank NABTU for the chance to join you today, even if it's virtual. To my dear friend, President Sean McGarvey, to Secretary Treasurer Brent Booker, and to the Governing Board of Presidents, thank you all for your great leadership during this most difficult year. We know this is a time of immense challenge and immense opportunity for working families, for our great construction trades. As we overcome COVID, we can't be simply happy with going back to the way things were before. For years, union workers have worked harder and harder, only to fall further and further behind, while businesses make it harder for unions to organize and working families to earn a good living. We can't let that continue any longer. With President Biden in the White House, with Democratic majority in the House, and Senator Chuck Schumer as finally the majority leader, and thank you, NABTU, for helping me get there, we're going to make it clear once again that unions made the middle class, and it's time we lift up union working families again. We got a lot of things done for working families in the American Rescue Plan. I worked with your leadership and fought real hard to get them against long odds, but we did. Not only did we secure a third round of stimulus checks, not only do we expand the child tax credit to as much as $3,600 a year for most families, but we also went to bat, fought hard, and won on a lot of important union priorities, like making sure COBRA is funded at 100% during the duration of this crisis. When people have lost their jobs or get paid less, they can't pay for COBRA, but they need that health insurance. We got it for them. Sean and so many of you had worked so hard with us to finally get pension reform, multi-employer pension reform into law. so that our workers can see their hard work pay off in retirement without cutting any benefits. So many construction workers in New York came to me and said, you know, I need this pension. I could live without it, but my wife can't, my husband can't, my parents can't, my kids can't. We need it. And we did it. We finally did it. And no one worked harder for it than me, because I love you. And I don't want to see our great construction workers who put in money week after week, knowing that they could retire and live in a life of decency, see those benefits cut and the rug pulled out from under them. So we got it done. Yes, these are historic accomplishments, but we got to do a lot more. I promise we will continue to work on legislation that will reverse the worst labor abuses in the past few years. And if we can pass the PRO Act, it would be great. I'm going to work so hard to get that done, because once America is unionized, once we can stop the bosses from undoing unions and create more unions along the way, get rid of those scabs, the middle class will be so much stronger. And so we need to get that PRO Act done. We're also going to work hard to pass the American Jobs Plan. That's going to be the largest investment in workers and in construction in our lifetime. It's going to devote hundreds of billions of dollars to fix our highways, roads, and bridges, money for public transportation. We're going to see cranes everywhere, workers, construction workers everywhere. We're going to need many more. Overtime is going to be plentiful if we get this done. And we want to make sure that any infrastructure package comes with ironclad Davis-Bacon provisions, so workers will earn a prevailing wage. We're not going to let the scabs get around it. President Biden's plan will also build, preserve, and retrofit 2 million homes and commercial buildings, modernize our nation's schools and childcare facilities, upgrade veterans hospital and federal buildings. This is federal dollars. Every dollar of it should be with union labor. And that's what we're going to fight for. And that's just the start. In the weeks and months ahead, all of us are going to have to work together to turn that vision of the American Jobs Plan into reality. We're going to need you to talk to all of the senators on both sides of the aisle to make sure they vote for this. And I promise to stand by your side every day I serve as majority leader. I'm well aware of how important NABTU and the construction trades were in getting our Democratic majority there, and we will not forget you. And we'll work together. I'm confident we can get our country back on track. We can provide millions of new good-paying union jobs to America and help our existing union workers get a great salary and a great life. Thank you, and stay safe.
Hello, everyone. What an honor and a treat to speak to you all today. If there's one thing you should know about me, it is that I am obsessed with creating good-paying union jobs. You are the ones that keeps the lights on and are keeping the trains running. You are the ones who have built our public infrastructure, with some of your unions going back more than a century. Your safety standards ensure that all workers go home to their families every night. You know, America owes you a great debt. And that's why this administration is laser focused on seizing the opportunity of the clean energy economy for union workers. So by the end of this decade, there will be at least a $23 trillion global market for these technologies. 23 trillion. And President Biden wants America competing in that market. And he's betting on American workers to win, to build these products, to stamp them made in America, to use them here, to install them here, and to send them overseas in trade. This is why he signed an executive order last month that puts the federal government in labor's corner. This is why he is so excited to help workers organize and collectively bargain. It's why he remains a steadfast champion of the PRO Act. It's why his entire administration is mobilizing to create high road union jobs that provide good benefits and strong protections and family sustaining wages. So at the Department of Energy, our new Office of Energy Jobs, led by Jennifer Krapke and our labor working group, we are bringing unions to the table, and they're showing us how project labor agreements with targeted goals, hiring goals for women and LGBTQ plus and workers of color, and all of the pockets of America that may have been left behind, that those people and others can help us to build a skilled workforce that looks like America. It's labor unions who are showing us how joint labor management apprenticeships in clean energy are going to mean that this industry won't just offer jobs, it will help to build careers. And of course, the American Jobs Plan will allow us to do even so much more. It'll make sure that union hands are the ones that are building wind turbines and electric vehicles. It'll put plumbers and pipe fitters to work revitalizing America's water infrastructure, for example. It'll require electricians and laborers and utility workers to lay the next generation of transmission lines. It's going to employ insulators and bricklayers and plasterers and painters and sheet metal workers and roofers to make buildings more efficient. It'll get iron workers and boiler makers and operating engineers to build and repair our roads and bridges and ports. And because President Biden wants you rebuilding American infrastructure and revitalizing American manufacturing, he needs your help to get this plan passed. So we've got an amazing, a once in a lifetime opportunity to rebuild our economy from the bottom up. You know what? And it's all because you stood with Joe Biden last fall. And if you stand with him again, we can create millions of high road union careers in clean energy, and we can lift millions of American families into the middle class. So let's do this. Let's pass the American Jobs Plan, and let's win the future for American workers. Thank you.
I am pleased to accept President Sean McGarvey's invitation to address North America's Building Trades Union representatives on this occasion. I have always believed that workers in the green energy sector deserve good pay, good benefits, and safe workplaces. The role of unions here is critical. The unionization rate within our green energy economy is too low, and indeed we can do much better. The details matter as it comes to our tax policy, but it is unquestionable that our workers must be at the center of a transition to a green economy. As we rise to the challenges we face with respect to climate change and ensuring that American workers are the true beneficiaries of our efforts, extensions of tax incentives for green energy must be accompanied by carefully crafted support for labor standards and worker protections. It was a huge win for us getting the multi-employer pension relief bill done earlier this year. As all of you know, that wasn't easy, and we had been working on this issue for many years. But we finally got it over the finish line, and I'm thankful for the support of the building trades as they helped to make sure this effort would come to fruition. When I look back on my career, this achievement is right up there as one of the ones I will always be most proud of. Thanks to all of you.
Hello, I'm Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, and it's a pleasure to join you virtually for the 2021 NABTU Legislative Conference. I've worked with the building trades throughout my time in public life, so I know that there are a lot of old friends in this audience. And I'm glad to have this chance to express my appreciation for everything that the members here have done to continue moving our country forward through everything that we've been through in this last year and a half especially. So let me begin by thanking you. Unions built this country, and as the president so often says, unions built the middle class. Unions are going to be indispensable to building our future as well. I hope it's clear where this administration stands, which is on your side. We're here for every American's right to organize, to join a union, and to collectively bargain. We're here for an economy that works for everyone, one where families can enter and stay in the middle class. Under the president's leadership, America is getting back on track. We've begun turning the tide on the pandemic, and that's in large part because of the American Rescue Plan. So I want to thank you and your member organizations for your strong support for this vision. But the Rescue Plan was just the start. We know that we can't simply return to the way things were before the pandemic. This is our chance to build back better. And building is what the workers represented here have been doing, literally, for decades. This is where the American Jobs Plan comes in. It's no exaggeration to say that this is the best chance in any of our lifetimes to transform our infrastructure and create millions of good-paying union jobs. Put simply, this plan is the largest investment in jobs since the end of World War II. And the majority of the jobs this plan will create are union jobs, available to Americans whether you have a college degree or not. These jobs are real and will be available to the American people right away if we have the courage and the vision to invest in creating them. We are going to be creating jobs, laying new train tracks, making our roads and bridges more resilient, expanding our transit systems, replacing lead water pipes, building new clean energy transmission lines, installing new electric vehicle chargers, and building the electric cars that are going to use those chargers. This plan calls for over $600 billion in infrastructure investments to repair and modernize our roads and bridges, our airports, our waterways, our railways, and our public transit systems. And it looks beyond transportation infrastructure. It also provides for universal broadband access and will replace 100% of lead pipes in this country. And it will spark an electric vehicle revolution. These are big investments, but we can fully pay for them by making sure that corporations pay their fair share. It's unacceptable that many of the largest corporations in the country pay $0 in taxes on billions of dollars in profits. We're working to make sure that the investments will go to companies with strong labor standards, prevailing wages, and a free and fair choice to join a union and bargain collectively. And of course, we're also investing in workforce development, registered apprenticeships like the world-class programs run by the trades so that we can train the next generation of workers. And we're making sure that opportunities go to underserved communities, building the capacity of existing workforce development and supporting worker protection systems. And I want to take this moment to applaud unions that have taken steps to expand pathways to membership for people who have been underrepresented in the trades in the past. The bottom line is this. This is our chance to completely reimagine our infrastructure, create millions of union jobs along the way, and make sure that our country wins the future. Americans ought to have the best infrastructure in the world, and we are eager to team up with you to build it. I'm looking forward to working together on the road ahead, and again, thank you for everything that you do.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sean, Secretary-Treasurer Booker, and the Governing Board of Presidents for your remarkable leadership of the building trades unions. It's always an honor for me to speak with you. This pandemic has devastated the lives and livelihoods of so many Americans, particularly in the construction industry, where supply chain disruptions have hit residential builders particularly hard. Over 1 million construction workers lost their jobs, devastating families and communities. President Biden and the Commerce Department are committed to rebuilding the economy better than ever. But the only way we can do this is with you leading and building the way forward. That's why, when we enacted the American Rescue Plan, we made sure that union members got the pensions they earned and deserved. And that's why we designed the American Jobs Plan as a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America. It's a plan that will create millions of union jobs that can't be outsourced. Jobs rebuilding our roads and bridges, ports and airports, broadband and water lines. It's a plan that will buy American, so taxpayer dollars go to American workers and American businesses. And it's a plan that invests in job training and apprenticeship programs, particularly for women and people of color. As the governor of Rhode Island, job training and apprenticeship programs were my top priority. And I know it's a priority for you as well. Because at the heart of our economy is you, the men and women of our union workforce. You built this country before, and you're doing it again as we recover from the pandemic, even in the face of huge challenges. Today, job openings in construction are the highest they've been since June of 2019. Now, we're making progress, but we still have work to do to get the economy back on its feet, especially in solving the supply chain crisis. And we all know government can't do it alone. It takes strong partnerships with the building trades unions to get the job done. As many of you know, I'm the proud granddaughter of a man who founded the Meat Cutters Union in Rhode Island. Went on to be the UFCW local. And so we're a union family, and I know why unions matter. I've enjoyed working with you over the years, and I recommit myself to working with you in my new role here at the Commerce Department, and I invite you to stay in close touch with me. As always, I want to hear from you and partner with you. It's more important now than ever that we work together to build a new economy with American union workers at the forefront. So thank you and enjoy your conference.
It's a pleasure to be able to attend virtually the annual legislative conference of the National Association of Building Trades. The building trades hold so much promise for America's future. First, because the employees the building trades represent are those workers who actually rebuild America's roads and bridges and infrastructure, as well as expanding the supply of affordable housing that American families so desperately need. You represent our nation's infrastructure heroes. Second, the building trades ensure that all of this work is done by employees who have good paying jobs with health, retirement, and other employee benefits. Expanding the supply of these jobs is absolutely essential to expanding our middle class. We've accomplished some amazing legislative victories recently through the American Rescue Plan Act, and your support was critical. Big thanks for the support. Let me highlight a couple of examples. First, the Congress enacted a financial rescue program for failing multi-employer pension plans, which importantly does not require damaging cuts to benefits promised the retired. Second, the Congress enacted a 6-month program to pay COBRA premiums for workers who've lost their jobs, ensuring that these workers don't have to suffer a loss of their health care. And third, there was a historic expansion of the child tax credit. This is going to allow monthly payments of $250 to $300 per child, reducing child poverty by as much as 50%. Now, these are important victories, but nobody can say go rest on your laurels. There's so much more we have to accomplish. For starters, the Finance Committee just advanced my Clean Energy for America Act. What that would do is overhaul the outdated tax rules on incentives for energy production to create jobs and combat climate change. For the first time, my bill requires businesses using these tax incentives to pay prevailing wages. So what that means is, with our bill ensuring green jobs, they're going to be good jobs. I'm also pushing to make sure that all new job creation includes critical protections for workers. This includes protecting the right to organize, join a union, and bargain collectively with employers. We're going to be working closely together in the months and years ahead because I want you to know I look forward to partnering with you to advance the priorities that we share. Thanks for the support, and I especially appreciate the invitation to be able to be part of the annual legislative conference.
This will conclude our first and hopefully only virtual legislative conference. We're very grateful for the efforts of all of you in the past year. It's been a long haul, but we persevered, and we look forward to being together next year in Washington, face to face, shoulder to shoulder, celebrating the good work you're about to do. Thank you for joining us today.